I'm going to make a confession up front. I'm a huge Matrix nerd. I don't just mean the original movie, but all of it. I'm a little too young to have seen Star Wars on its original release, but I loved Tron as a kid. It seems inevitable that when The Matrix was released in '99, I was obsessed with it. It was the last film I owned on VHS, and I had to get my first DVD player modded just to be able to play the disc. In the years waiting for the sequels, my most used website was whatisthematrix.com. I read the digital comic books and downloaded the anime shorts over dial-up internet that creaked under the weight of the QuickTime files. I bought the art book and both soundtrack CDs. I even finished Enter the Matrix twice, which is at least once more than anyone should really do. Finally, I spent years defending my love of the uneven sequels, while convinced Neo's incredibly symbolic sacrifice in Revolutions was the end of the story. Given how definitive it seemed, I was more than a little sceptical when a sequel was announced in 2019. And my reaction to the trailer was a resounding, huh? It certainly didn't look anything like the original movies. So what kind of sequel would it be? A retread of the original? A continuation of the story? Maybe it'd be like two of the greatest sequels of all time. Gremlins 2, The New Batch, and Crank 2, High Voltage, which break the fourth wall and go completely nuts. The answer was all three.
This cannot be another reboot, retread, regurgitate.
Why not?
Matrix Resurrections follows the same story beat to the original. Office worker Tom Anderson knows something is wrong with the world he inhabits. He takes the red pill offered by Morpheus and awakens in the real world. He physically recovers from being unplugged and returns to the Matrix as Neo to carry out a rescue. But this is also the same Neo who we saw die at the end of Revolutions. We're now in a new version of the Matrix, several decades later. Jada Pinkett Smith makes an appearance as a much older Niobe. Lawrence Fishburne doesn't return as Morpheus, due to being unceremoniously killed off in the Matrix Online years before. The hook in the 1999 trailer was the question, what is the Matrix?
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.
While the answer was mind-blowing to me and the audience at the time, it seems relatively straightforward now. 20 years later, the question became, what is The Matrix? Something much more complicated that Lana Wachowski isn't just asking the audience, but seemingly herself. She's not exactly subtle with some of the answers, though.
Capitalist exploitation.
Gun! Philosophy and shiny. Type BBC.
Transpolitics.
Crypto-fascism.
As a cishet guy without a college education, I'm going to steer clear of all of that and just look at the movie as a movie.
I've got zero tolerance for anything that requires a syllabus and a highlighter.
If subtext is for cowards, then The Matrix Resurrections is one of the bravest movies ever made. You might understandably think that I'm reading far too much into this, so I need to talk about a specific example. Chad. You might think having Tom Anderson's unrequited object of affection be married to a conventionally handsome jerk named Chad is a bit on the nose. You'd be right, but this actor is actually named Chad. Specifically Chad Stahelski, who directed Keanu Reeves in all 4 of the John Wick movies. But before that, he had a long career as a martial artist and stunt performer. One of the movies he worked on was The Matrix, where he doubled for Keanu Reeves. So, knowing all that, we come back to Matrix Resurrections and find that Trinity, without any memory of Neo, has married his literal double. Is this an unspoken character note or just a pretty obscure joke? I honestly have no idea, but both could be true. Text, subtext and metatext, all are one. Everyone's favourite character, the Merovingian, returns.
Oh, God.
The dapper preening mob boss persona is gone, though he remains outrageously French. This time he serves as a dishevelled and demented Greek chorus, literally spitting insults and ranting about how none of this is as good as things used to be. Hilariously, no one pays any attention to him during the ensuing fight scene, and he storms off in a huff.
We had style, we had conversation, not this d.
Lana Wachowski was obviously well prepared for negative comparisons to the original movie, and she makes her thoughts on critics obvious here. How does she feel about the studio?
I'm sure you can understand why our beloved parent company, Warner Brothers, has decided to make a sequel to the trilogy.
What?
They informed me they're going to do it with or without us.
Of all the various problems of the Matrix sequels, the writing of Neo and Trinity's relationship is where it falls down the hardest. Sure, there's a lot of plates to keep spinning plot-wise, but it really suffers in their final scenes. By contrast, Link and Z's parallel stories as they fight to be reunited is possibly the best part of the movie. The two leads, meanwhile, are reduced to plot devices. Trinity gets the worst of this treatment. There's a beautiful moment when the Logos pierces the blanket of permanent clouds and we see the sky for the first and only time. But once the ship reaches the machine city, she's killed off. Neo is sat right next to her and gets barely a scratch, but Trinity has outlived her usefulness to the plot and gets speared. It's something that Matrix Resurrections goes to great lengths to get right, bringing this central relationship back to the forefront of the story. The cause that Neo fights for isn't destruction of the Matrix or defeat of the machines, but to bring Trinity back to herself. At the time of Matrix Revolution's release, film critic Tasha Robinson wrote an article titled "We're Losing All Our Strong Female Characters to Trinity Syndrome." In it, she called out the trope of the hugely capable woman who never once becomes as independent, significant and exciting as she is in her introductory scene. It was a character type seen in everything from Riddick to the Lego Movie, though Trinity was the prime example. A woman suffering from Trinity Syndrome would be introduced as a capable badass, but only as a measurement for the male lead to live up to. Once he became her equal or surpassed her, she immediately became completely useless. The strong female character becomes a damsel in distress. This is even worse in cases where she's made less capable than when she's first introduced, if not killed outright. Trinity's introduction speaks for itself, but look at her first meeting with Neo. She's assured, confident, and used to being underestimated by guys like Thomas Anderson.
I just thought, you were a guy.
Most guys do.
By the time of the lobby scene, Neo's become her equal. He convinces Morpheus that he's the one by saving Trinity from the helicopter crash. Then she's out of the way for him to fight Agent Smith. When we get to Matrix Reloaded, the opening scene shows she's still a badass, but that's not enough anymore. The sequence ends with her being shot by an agent and seemingly falling to her death. The plot from that point centres on Neo's attempt to save her from this fate. He doesn't tell her about this premonition, it's just assumed she wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Matrix Resurrection seems to specifically be about changing this. Trinity remembers her real identity and all the kung fu knowledge that comes with it.
My name is Trinity, and you better take your hands off of me.
Not only that, but the final twist shows that in this version of the Matrix, she's become the one, and might also be more powerful than Neo ever was. In the first movie, Cypher observes,
"Everybody falls the first time. Right, Trin?"
well, not this time. The final scene brings the return of the Neo and Trinity we've been waiting for. It's also playful in a way the original trilogy never was. I think I speak for everyone who ever saw Reloaded when I say I would have loved to have seen the Architect get smacked around the same way the Analyst is. So, what is the Matrix? There are dozens of different philosophical and sociological readings, with none of them necessarily wrong. But to me, it's the simplest thing of all. A love story. Something that was forgotten in the Neo-Damarung of the sequels has been remembered here. When these two people are together, anything is possible.